everyone's ready, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the July 22nd, 2021 school committee meeting. In keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16th, 2021. This meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote and attendance shall count towards quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live on Facebook and recorded on ECAP. This meeting is open to the public and we will take questions by the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. Please make sure you include your full name and address, and we'll do our best to answer all questions. However, we will not read questions that have already been answered. Okay, so item 1 is the regular school committee meeting minutes of Thursday, June 24th, 2021. Are there any questions, comments, or edits?
I have one.
Okay.
On the first page, under minutes regular 6/10/2021, it says Chair Durant's. It should be entered, not centered. We know you're centered, Michelle, but we know you entered the meeting at 5:06. Just get rid of that C.
All right.
Otherwise, Lynn, you did a fabulous job.
Anything else? All right, would anyone like to make a motion to accept the minutes? Regular school committee meeting minutes, Thursday, June 24th, 2021.
Star, so moved.
Second, DeLuca.
All right, and roll call vote. Let's see, Caroline?
O'Neill, yes.
Durant's yes.
DeLuca, yes.
Star, yes.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so the next on the agenda is the executive session meeting minutes of Thursday, June 24th, 2021. Would anybody like me to hold them for comments or edits at a later time? No? Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to accept the executive session meeting minutes from Thursday, June 24th, 2021?
So moved, but to not release them.
Do not release, thank you.
O'Neill, second.
All right, roll call vote. Caroline?
O'Neill, yes.
Durant's yes.
DeLuca, yes.
Star, yes.
All right, excellent, thank you. All right, presentation of the MIAA Community Service Project. Dr. Cabral?
Thank you. We have two guests here this evening, so while they're being brought over for presenting, I would like to introduce from the OA boys lacrosse team, Ben Devlin, head coach, Steve Keohane, assistant coach. I'm very sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Captains Remy Creighton, Michael Brannigan, and Brendan Cross. And I think this evening we have Mr. Devlin and Brendan Cross. They participated in an MIAA community service project, raised money for a very worthy cause, but I wanted them to explain to you what they worked on. I thought it was notable, very important to share this information, and so I will not tell you the amount or what they did. I'll let them do that, but welcome. We're very happy to have you. Brendan Cross is here as well. So I'll just give them a moment to jump on and share their cameras, and I will kick it over to you, Mr. Devlin.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to present this. We actually made the same presentation to the MIAA during a virtual conference on community service. They reached out to us when they caught wind of what we had done on social media. So it's basically the same presentation we did for them. And just a little background, it's, giving back, I guess, is part of our culture in OA lacrosse. We've done it for years. The captains will kind of explain that a little bit more as we get into the presentation of things we've done in the past. But it's just kind of a thing that we focus on is giving back to the community. And it starts with the kids, really. It's, a coach can do whatever he can to try to build that kind of culture, but unless the kids jump on it, it's not going to work. And I can honestly say in my years at OA, it's never been a problem getting these kids to volunteer for community service things. They, as soon as you throw it out there, they jump at the opportunity. And it speaks to the type of kids that we have in OA lacrosse. Just a little bit of a background. We won the MIA Sportsmanship Award in 2018. This past year, we were the unanimous selection for the Hockomock League Sportsmanship Award. So, it's just a great group of kids, and is proud of their accomplishments on the field and probably more proud of what they do off the field. So I'm going to share the screen, but I'm going to have the captains talk to it because, like I said, they're the ones that did the work and they're the ones behind this whole thing. So I'll share the presentation, but I'm going to hand it over to Brendan. I'm not sure if anyone else is on, but I see Brendan up there. So. Just let me know when you can see that.
Yeah, we can see it.
Brendan, you can go ahead and kind of.
Hi guys, so my name is Brendan Cross. I was a senior this year for OA captain. So this cleanup we did was obviously because of COVID, we were looking to do something outside, and we figured spring cleanups worked well considering a lot of people needed that to be done at the time. And the AJ Keta Fund for us seemed like a really good choice. We were supposed to play Bishop Fien last year if our season had happened. And AJ was playing lacrosse for Bishop Fien. So we advertised this event on social media and got tons of responses. Or nearly 20 different houses signed up to have their yard with the spring cleaning. So that included raking, mulching, any other little things that they needed done, we did. And we also enlisted Bishop Fien's lacrosse team to help us out with some yards that were farther away from our area. So for our team, we had 23 volunteers, including players and coaches plus parents. Some resources we took with us, we had rakes, gloves, tarps, leaf blowers, wheelbarrows, and volunteers to drive people around. I personally had to drive around some freshmen with me, so that was interesting. We broke into 2 groups and did multiple yards around Easton and other towns, and it took about 9 hours of yard work. In addition to raising over $2,500 for the AJ Keta Fund, it was an amazing, great team building experience. We all worked together to accomplish something very important to us, and for me personally, it was nice because it was nice something that I could do, but also to do with my teammates. And overall, just some reflections about it. As a team, the Oliver Ames Lacrosse program has done community service for several years now, including the annual Keeping Easton Beautiful Day to volunteering at holiday party for foster families and volunteering at youth lacrosse clinics, which we also did this past year. Food drives for the Easton Food Pantry, and many others. Volunteering is a core part of our program, something we do every year. This year's volunteer effort was especially special to us because when we realized what happened to AJ could happen to any of us, I saw the video, it was awful, and I do realize it's sports and it could really happen to anybody. And it meant a lot that we could give something back to someone my age who we could have been on the field with if the circumstances had been different. And here's some pictures of what we did. Like I said, working with my teammates was a really great experience, doing something good for other people.
Thank you very much for that. I don't know if I missed it, but I don't think you mentioned what happened to AJ in January, and I'm not sure if the school committee is familiar with that, if you might want to share that as the reason for AJ's Army in the first place.
Yeah, I can do that. So like you said, some people haven't seen it. So during a hockey game over the winter, AJ tripped, I think. There was just a really unfortunate accident. He tripped and went headfirst into the boards during a hockey game. And I believe he was paralyzed because of the injury. But after that, there was a huge rally and support for him. Obviously, the AJ Ketafone was established. You had players, even including from the Boston Bruins, around the whole sports community as a whole, really came together for AJ, and we just want to do our part to help him.
So as you can surmise, this was something I thought was extremely touching and a perfect capture of what our students are made of and what they do every day. And, you know, like Mr. Devlin said, it is the kids, but I do want to commend you on your coaching, your modeling, your leadership. But, you know, Brendan and your fellow captains, you're also modeling leadership. And we are extremely proud of you. This is not a member of the OA team. This is another school. You're showing your team spirit, your collegiality. It's no surprise that you win the sportsmanship awards. This is true sportsmanship at its finest, and we are extremely proud of what you have done to help AJ and his family.
Thank you. Does anyone on the school committee have questions or comments? I can't see anybody.
Okay, can I jump in, Michelle?
Absolutely.
Okay. Brendan, nice job. That was very good. I'm very proud of you. Anyway, I'm very proud of the whole lacrosse team. And as you were speaking, I said it's so unfortunate that we haven't been able to do the Day of Kindness for 2 years now. So this was like Day of Kindness and AJ Day all rolled into one. And you should be very proud of yourselves. And I think this is a wonderful thing that you've all done. And I'm very proud of all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the school committee? I can't see you, so just jump in if there's something to say.
Caroline, I just want to remark on the creativity of the idea and really the practicality of it, aside from, you know, a really very generous activity.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And I'll jump in. Hi, Coach. Good to see you. I'm glad you guys got to present. Hi, Brendan. So I had the unique perspective of being one of the parent volunteers for this event. So I got to see it unfold really from start to finish. And Coach, in typical humble form, has completely downplayed the amount of work and effort and planning that went into pulling this off. He was his usual incredibly detailed and energetic self with getting families coming up with the idea, floating it to see if there was support, and then handling, you know, really an overwhelming number of requests and then figuring out how do we be able to handle those by working with, you know, another team, and so we weren't turning away donations, and of course, you know, getting players, coaches, and drivers, that's what I was for the day, organized into all the sites. It was really a really big undertaking. So just want to congratulate you, Coach, on pulling this off, because we had, I'm sure, no idea how it would go the day of. Yeah. Yeah, so it was a hard day of work, but you know, it was a really special thing to be a part of. So I'm just so proud that you came up with that, and pulled it off. And good luck with, you know, another year. I know this is your last year coaching, so just want to say thank you for all you've done for the team, for really living that community service aspect of our lives. I think this team, in my experience, does more community service than the other teams, and that's because of your leadership. So thank you for all that you've done for the lacrosse program and the everything.
Thank you. And thank you for coming here tonight and sharing this with us. I didn't realize that, well, a number of things that you did, yearly projects, and that's wonderful. And then this was particularly touching and close to home in a whole variety of ways. And just to see our team and community step up and help and support and cheer on not only AJ, but his team and his family and his community. And that's just very touching, and I'm very proud of all of you. So thank you for joining us tonight and presenting. and sharing this.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the next is the presentation and vote to approve the naming plaques in honor of West Paul. And I don't know if I'm supposed to pass it to you, Dr. Cabral. Did you want to talk to this or?
Sure.
Okay.
So you had previously voted for 2 naming opportunities for West Paul to commemorate his leadership here in Easton. One is for the corner. People may not be familiar with the fact that there was a corner at which Mr. Paul stood every morning to welcome students into the building. And then the office suite, as the longest standing principal in OA history at 22 and a half years. There were several people who wanted to work together, contribute, and put a plaque up outside the office in his honor. And so those were done. There are pictures of them in your folder, your school committee folder, but they are, if you picture the plaque for the Simmons Lecture Hall, it's the same exact plaque. So we wanted to make sure that we preserved the aesthetic as well as, the size for the recognition. The one that is on the corner is the exact same size as the one for Dr. Simmons outside the lecture hall. It looks identical, but it's the same. Obviously, the wording is slightly different. And then the one outside of the office is just slightly larger. Instead of 12 by 9, it's 14 by 18, because they just had a few more words on there, thanking him for many years of dedicated service, and then put the years of his service to the school. So those were prepared, and you have the pictures of them if you want to take a look at them. But again, anyone who's ever been to the lecture hall, we use the same vendor, we use the same product, colors, size, and everything. And those plaques have been completed.
Wonderful. Does school committee have any questions or comments? Nancy?
So the amount of money for these 2 plaques is coming out of the donation money, is that correct?
Yes, it is correct.
Okay.
One is from the class of 2021.
Yes.
That's the one that's on the corner. And then the other was a community effort where parents and staff and many different people contributed. And that's the one for the office.
Are those 2 different funds?
Yes.
Okay.
Michelle?
Yes.
Caroline, I just wanted to add my thanks again to Leslie Fitzgerald, who kind of coordinated this whole effort and actually also was instrumental in helping the students do their part as well. Her kids have left the system some time ago, but she has still been very involved, and I know that we all very much appreciate her contribution to this effort.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so we are just looking to approve the plaques and just get that on the record per se, because I believe that they're ready to go.
Yeah, I believe you already voted on this.
We didn't vote on the plaques, we voted on the fundraisings. We just need
Well, the plaque is the same. We use the same plaque, unless it's something like the Dalrymple Auditorium where we're going to do something different. But you can vote on the plaque if you'd like, but we use the same plaques for all of the classrooms and spaces and the Simmons Lecture Hall, and they're all the same plaque. It's just something unusual or unusually large, like this Dalrymple Auditorium, that would be any different, but you can certainly vote on it if you'd like.
Actually, if you don't mind my sort of adding my 2 cents, you're exactly right. The type of plaque, obviously the wording is different for each one, but the type of plaque is the same that's associated with the official original naming campaign. And so you're exactly right. Back in the day when that campaign was fully underway, we voted on the appropriateness of the person and the location and the money, but the plaque was essentially designed and ordered by, the wording was designed. The design was the same for all of them essentially, but that was actually handled by a subcommittee of the school committee that was associated with the naming campaign. So we didn't in the past vote specifically on those plaques. I think the source of confusion is that there's been some changes in terms of naming opportunities. For example, with the Friends of the Easton Athletic Complex, we did have to approve those signs, or you could call them plaques, but signs. So I think that there had been some confusion about our role in approving the specific, what was going to be displayed. So we can vote on this, but you're actually right. Based on the prior sort of procedures, that doesn't really require our vote. It is a little confusing, I know, for people that have seen us vote on other kinds of signs and displays. So I'm thinking that, I know Michelle probably is going to address this with you, Dr. Cabral, but I think we probably have to find a way to sort of address that whole issue as part of one of the policies, so that it's clear when we vote on a design or a plaque and or a sign, and when we don't. Anyway.
Sure.
So I think from my point of view, I was asked to sign off on this, and I just wanted to get it on the record that everyone was aware of it, and I can't imagine not being okay with it. That wasn't the point. I felt like I at least needed to get school committee's permission to sign for it. That's all.
That's really the vote. I mean, you're exactly right. I think that since you were asked to sign off on it, I think it does make sense for us to vote to allow you to sign off on it. Essentially, you're signing off on the payment, even though the payment is not coming from the school district. I mean, it's coming from the school district, the funds that have been deposited by the group that initiated the naming campaign. It's coming from those funds, but the school district is responsible for essentially paying the bill from those funds. So yes.
Every time there's a donation, you don't vote to sign off on it. Unless you're seeing this as differently because it's naming. I just want to clarify that, because in the future, if there's a donation, when we then, we receive one for art supplies, you accept the donation, but nobody signs off on the donation. So I think it actually is a good idea to get the subcommittee back together, if for nothing else, because we're about to have a brand new building. And I think it's going to be really important to clarify the naming going forward. Perhaps you want to change your process. I'm not really sure, or update the process, or keep it the same. But I think it would be a great idea to, we know what all the spaces in the new building are. At this point, you could even begin to price out the spaces if you wanted to offer that as the building is being built. You may want to determine which spaces may be available for naming if you're willing to allow people to purchase certain areas of the new building. So it may be a good opportunity to reconvene that subcommittee.
And that was actually the second part of what I wanted to suggest tonight. Well, no. So we're on the same page that does the school committee want to pursue the subcommittee? I think that would be a good idea. So going forward, this confusion would not be happening.
But Michelle, I do want to say that in your defense, so to speak, I know that you're the one who raised the issue with us, but it's because you did receive an official communication requesting that you sign off. So I think that's where the original sources of confusion came in. And so it wasn't just that. I mean, I was even confused when you asked me about that, because I didn't recall our doing that with the original naming campaign, but I thought that possibly subsequent policies that we put in place kind of related to other initiatives might have added an expectation that we have a more formal role. So I just want to make sure people understand that you were just trying to follow what you thought was the procedure that had been suggested to you.
Yeah, and I may not be familiar with some backstory on this. No defense necessary as far as the school department goes. I'm not really sure why she was asked to sign it. Assistant Superintendent Pruitt and I were at a conference, so it's totally possible that they were not sure whether she should sign and asked her to sign. So I don't really think this is a formal part of the process. If I had been asked, I would have said, I don't think it's necessary to sign off. But that's exactly why I think it's a good idea to clarify that procedure going forward. So I apologize if there was any miscommunication from our end.
No, and I think that the fund that I was going to be asked to sign for was a different fund than the donation fund. So I think getting that on the record and clarified tonight too is helpful. So.
Okay, I can't clarify for you because I'm not sure what fund you're referring to, but
It's going to be revenue or something.
I'm sorry?
It was revenue. I don't know. That's why I wanted to talk about it.
That's fine. There's an account that it's a revolving account. It's for funds that come in for naming and then funds go out. So it may have just been a clerical error, but I'm sure the accounting is correct because Marilyn has processed it. But we'll make sure we fix that.
Okay. All right. So what does the committee want to do? Just let it go? Do you want to vote in case I need to sign? I would feel better with that, but whatever you all want to do.
I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that you, because of the original process that was in place, you're not required to have a vote for that. And I don't actually think there's any reason for you to be signing off on anything if the funds are just coming out of the donation and they're just being, I mean, my understanding, Dr. Cabral, please correct me if I'm wrong, there really is no need for Michelle to sign it because this would just revert to the original process that we've always used before this confusion.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
The exact funds come in, the exact funds go out. It's not like there's a rolling receipt of money that's coming in and now there's anything left over. It's literally to the penny, whatever it is, the cost of the plaque is. That's what we accept for the donation, pay the bill, and it's zero again. So.
Okay. All right. Great. So then the idea of forming a subcommittee, is that a different agenda? Is that something we need to talk about?
Could I jump in? When we did
Go ahead, Nancy.
subcommittees before, Caroline and I are on the naming committee. But we haven't gotten together. In fact, it's in my notes to let's get together. So Caroline and I will get together, start putting some people together, whether it's from the original naming group or if we need to gather new people and start on our Bland James naming committee.
Perfect.
Does
It
anyone?
may take a while, and it would be great to have it in time for even before the school opens.
Yeah, it is important, I
I'll be getting in touch with you this week, Caroline, next week, okay?
Okay, I'll answer your phone call.
Okay.
Anyway,
Thank
but I
you.
did want to say that you're right, that we need to start reaching out. I believe back in the day that the process was actually that we solicited volunteers and essentially selected from those who responded based on whatever level of expertise or involvement that they had with something that was consistent with the naming campaign. But we had a couple of members of the school committee, I do remember that, but then we also had some other people, and that subcommittee was charged with certain tasks related to the naming process. And the school committee just remained the entity that approved the actual names and spaces and funding. So I think, yeah, we should probably get started on this because it will take a while to solicit volunteers for the committee.
And I know that a consultant was brought in last time
Right.
in terms of determining the amounts for the spaces. I don't know if that's something you would plan again, but obviously that would take some time as well.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that we would definitely have to do that. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to ask you or Marilyn, whoever, what sort of funding would be available to pay a consultant, because obviously it's kind of the chicken before the egg situation. We we can't really hire a consultant if we don't have funding yet, and we can't get funding from a campaign before we have a consultant. So we need to find a source of funding for that.
Well, we do in terms of the naming campaign, there is still money left there, for example, the Dalrymple Auditorium. because something like that, when they're not just putting a plaque, when they're allocating money for, continued development of an area or spaces within a building, something like that. And then, so we can use something there probably. I'll talk to Marilyn Gordon and we will get you going on that.
Excellent.
Great, awesome. All right, thank you. All right, personnel change, Dr. Cabral?
So we've had a lot of changes this year, as you know, throughout the district, but we have one now from central office, which of course hits even closer to home. These are the professionals who work behind the scenes that most people don't see on a regular basis. Many know by their name as a signature on an email or many, many different conversations on the telephone. And so I would like to just take a moment to tell you about the retirement of the administrative assistant to the director of special services. So Christine Rogers, began with the public schools in 1997 as a substitute. In May of '99, she was hired as a part-time special education secretary. Months later, she moved into the position full-time. She's worked in central administration for 22 years, and she retired this July 9th, 2021. I recently caught myself saying that I don't know an Oliver Ames without Wes Paul. And now I'm saying I don't know a central office without Chris Rogers. So she is an integral part of our culture here in the central offices, certainly in the special education department. Excuse me. She was a woman who wore many hats, from parent calls and assisting staff and transportation for many years, and really is was working in a very, very busy and complicated office. And so she certainly will be very missed. But again, those grandchildren and families. So she has a great grandson, a grandson who is great, not a great grandson. And I know she'll very much enjoy spending time with him and her family. So we do miss her, and we wish her many, many years of health and happiness in her well-deserved retirement.
Great, and I have her letter. Dear Dr. Cabral, please accept this letter as notice of my retirement as administrative assistant to the Special Services Director at Easton Public Schools. The effective date will be July 9th, 2021. I've had many rewarding years here, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. Sincerely, Christine Rogers. Does anyone have any comments? Will we vote?
Well, I do have to say, Dr. Cabral is right. It's hard to imagine that office without Chris present. And, obviously taking a lot of incoming calls and requests and other kinds of initiatives. So, I certainly also wish her the very best in her retirement.
Great. Anyone else? Nancy?
Yeah, she has been, she takes care of that squeaky wheel up there. She monitors everything. She's always busy. I don't know what they're gonna do up there without her. You'd say people are, you can replace, I don't know if they can replace Christine. She's awesome. So we wish her very, very happy retirement, especially with her grandson.
Okay.
Unfortunately, she's not able to join us here tonight.
All right. Then I will make a motion to accept her letter of retirement effective July 9th, 2021 with regrets. Do I have a second?
O'Neill, second.
Great. Roll call vote.
O'Neill, yes.
Grants, yes.
Luca, yes.
Star, yes.
Great. Thank you. Vote to approve and authorize chair to sign the no Adam contract. Dr. Cabral.
I'm going to request that you table that this evening. While we are moving ahead with No Adam, we've actually realized that this was on a prior school committee agenda and you did vote for this contract already. So we do not need to vote this evening. And we do thank you again for your support on that. No Adam, as a refresher, is the science curriculum. It's fantastic and we are exuberantly moving forward with it. But you have already signed this contract for us, so we're good.
Can I just, point of information, just to share with the school committee, what you had originally approved, the cost that for next year is actually cut in half. And that is because of, we were not able to fully implement No Adam K-2. So this coming year will be our full year of implementation.
It's a very hands-on program and didn't transfer very well to a virtual platform. So we're going to really work on it this year.
So that's what I was gonna ask, because there's, nothing could be hands-on in this past school year. So did they're giving us a little break then from that?
Yeah,
They couldn't use it?
they've been very responsive to our needs, and thankfully, and in the pandemic. And so they have agreed to allow us to only purchase what we need, thankfully. So we weren't, and we didn't, the grades 3 through 5, they were able to implement No Adam, excuse me, 5th grade in particular, the most this past year. It wasn't as easy to transfer, being an all hands-on program. However, 5th grade was able to manipulate it in a way that the kids were able to utilize it, which was fantastic. We also were supposed to start implementing it K-2 this past year, and we didn't want to go forward with implementation when we couldn't do it, in the proper way that we wanted it to be implemented. So that's why we decided to hold off for a year and implement it when we had less restrictions.
And there are a lot of projects and consumables that are used. So we're just
Yes.
going to make use of those consumables next year.
Yes.
So it is a savings.
We don't need to vote to table it.
Correct.
Moving on. Okay. A vote to approve and authorize the chair to sign the Lexia contract. Dr. Kapal?
The next two contracts, I'm going to ask Chrissy Pruitt to discuss the Lexia contract. She has discussed with you already. NRT, you're very familiar with, but I'm going to ask her to share some details and answer any questions you may have.
So the Lexia contract that you have in front of you, we started utilizing Lexia more as a district in grades K through 8 due to COVID. There was one school in particular, Center School, that used Lexia before COVID. The other schools started utilizing it due to COVID. Lexia was very smart. They gave it to us for free in the first few months of COVID. And due to that, we got hooked. And we really we find it an extremely useful tool for our students. So before you have the contract, I will let you know that once our 3 primary schools come together as one, it will be a $20,000 savings because they do charge us by school, not by student. So that's really important to know, that this will not be the same reoccurring cost each year. This will be reduced by $20,000 once our 3 schools become one.
Okay.
And this is a fantastic program. I used it back when I was a literacy coordinator at the elementary level. It's a very good program for literacy with students. The kids love it, staff love it. It is expensive, but again, because we were able to get it for free for such a longer period of time, it gave the staff the opportunity to learn how to use it. Now we're utilizing some grant funds to help us with this. And then, of course, as Chrissy said, starting the following year, it's actually going to be less expensive. So it's a good bridge for us to get there.
Michelle,
Caroline, go ahead.
I just want a little clarification from Chrissy about this. You said that it would be less expensive once we move to the new school, which of course combines the 3 elementary schools, but could the cost though be going up each year anyway? In other words, it wouldn't necessarily be a $20,000 savings? I mean, it would be a savings compared to what the full cost is, or do we have some kind of multi-year commitment?
No, you're absolutely right, Caroline. I apologize for misspeaking. There could be an increase due to inflation, but there would be a savings with the combination of the three schools. The actual amount of 20,000 may actually be incorrect.
Well, could even be more if they raise the price enough.
Right.
It just, but no, I mean, it's good to hear though that it's based on the number of schools, because that makes a huge difference. Thank you.
Yes.
All the contracts are so different. Some of them give spans 0 to 100 kids, 101 to 250, and so on. Some do it by schools, some do it by the enrollment in your district in a particular grade. So they're all very different.
Any other questions, comments? All right, can I get a motion to approve and authorize the chair to sign the Lexia contract?
O'Neill, so moved.
Star, second.
Second, DeLuca.
Oops. All right, roll call vote.
O'Neill, yes.
Durant, yes.
DeLuca, yes.
Star, yes.
Yeah. Vote to approve the NRT contract for year 22-23. Chrissy?
Thank you so much. So we were able to meet with NRT to discuss our future with NRT. As you know, our students in grades K through 6 actually go over to NRT. It's such a wonderful program where they work on science with our students and our teachers. They really have been instrumental. And during COVID, they have not only given us, not only have they adapted to our needs, but they've actually thought outside the box for us and provided us with opportunities. So, I really want to commend them and thank them for their partnership with us. When we were in when our students were fully remote, they actually did activities with the students fully, in the fully remote mode. Then when we couldn't actually leave the campus, they thought outside the box and worked with our principals and were able to utilize areas around the schools to provide the instruction that they typically do on site. One of the things that we found was that our 5th and 6th graders in particularly are more attentive when they are closer to the site. And so these are some things that we are working with, whether we continue utilizing the sites around us, around our schools, rather than going to NRT. We found in my conversations that the primary grades and the early elementary grades, going to NRT is an absolute wonderful experience. But once they go after 4, 5, 6 years, it starts to get a little old. And so the NRT staff have looked at how to utilize the areas around the buildings in order to provide some of that instruction. And the reception this year, especially from our older grades, was fantastic. So that's where we're making some adaptations to the actual program itself. Due to the future of our budget, we are asking to commit to a 2-year contract rather than a 3. They were wonderful, as they always are, and we're able to stick to a 1% increase. But it's something that we felt that we weren't able to completely commit to a 3rd year so far out due to the uncertainty of our budgets moving forward. Although it is something that we are highly committed to, and they understand that. So this is before you for the next 2 years rather than 3, and hopefully in 2 years I'm back with another contract for 3 years.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Nancy?
So how much did we end up paying for FY 2021?
That I don't have that number at my fingertips. I apologize.
Was it the full amount we contracted
Yes.
for as a regular?
Yes.
It was. We didn't
was.
get a discount or
No, because they really did provide
they work,
instruction.
Did they work with you?
They did, and they were on site they were here at our schools. You know, we did have the savings as far as busing goes because we weren't transporting the students to NRT, but they gave us the same amount of services and were able to utilize the areas outside of the buildings. As I was saying before, you know, when working with them, we recognize the need to have the lower elementary students still go to NRT because it is newer for them. They have accessibility to more things on the sites for the students to utilize. But in the upper grades, sticking, you know, maybe having that transfer where we're using more of the property around the schools is more of a better option. But they were 100%, you know, provided us with the amount of service that they typically do. And it was a really nice break for our teachers too. You know, it was nice for them to be able to be a participant with the students rather than be out front instructing, and they could, you know, kind of take a breath during the time when they were also working so hard, as we know.
Thank you. They work with the K through 6, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And when Blanche Ames project is completed, they're going to have a wetlands classroom. They're going to have some designated outdoor classroom spaces. So they're actually going to have more options around the buildings once that school is finished.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the NRT contract for year 22-23?
With great enthusiasm, I so move.
Second? All right, I'll second it. Roll call vote.
O'Neill, yes.
Durant, yes?
Luca, yes.
Star, yes.
Excellent, thank you. All right, next up is vote to approve the Robert W. Urban and Sons contract. Dr. Cabral?
Director of Operations David Twombly is here this evening to discuss with you this contract, which is for on-call plumbing services. We have benefited greatly. It's been such a significant cost savings to the district to have carpentry and electrician work done by dedicated staff here in the district. Unfortunately, we don't have a town plumber. So Mr. Twombly is going to explain this contract for our plumbing needs.
Yep, thanks a lot, Dr. Cabral. So we went out to bid this year for the plumbing services contract. So as you know, we have to have a licensed plumber. Not only do they have to be licensed, but they also have to have OSHA certification. Each plumber that comes on site will have to be quarried, and we've actually already started that process. But we followed the Chapter 30B protocols on this particular contract. It would be a 3-year contract. We advertise it in the Brockton Enterprise, the Combis website, and also the Central Register. And so again, this would be a 3-year contract. This particular plumbing company has a number of contracts on the South Shore. In fact, I called a few of the neighboring communities just to kind of get some background on them, and they got excellent reviews. And the few times that Jody, Alan, and myself have interacted with their staff, they've been excellent so far. So we're really looking forward to working with them. It would be a 3-year plumbing services contract, and I believe that Lynn included a copy in your packet.
Any questions or comments? Nancy?
Hi, so the DPW we're all under the same umbrella as far as carpenters and plumbers. Will they be using this plumber or is it just the schools?
Nope, that's a good question. The town will also use this contract. When we went out to bid, we included the town on the request, the invitation for bids. So yep, the town will, and again, as you know, we do a lot of those types of contracts where when we go out for services, the town is included in those contracts. And this is another one where, you know, it's better to go out with the town because when you add in the town properties and you add into the schools, you just get a better price based on the volume.
Do we share the cost of it?
So right,
This is our share. This contract is for our share. And the, of all the town buildings, we have 6 of them. So there are many others. We don't share it 50-50. This is our contribution based on the number of buildings we have. We don't provide service here at central office. That's part of our rent. But like I said, we have a licensed electrician, for example, that works for the town. That is not something that we have with a plumber. It's difficult, I'm sure, for many to understand why we would have a licensed plumber on staff. But ultimately, when you add all of the contracts we have here, being able to provide our own supplies that we get from our contracted service providers, and having someone on staff who can do it immediately, it actually is quite a cost savings. But that's why I reference those. It's a different model than we have for plumbing. For plumbing, we need to go out and contract for services because we don't have a town plumber.
Yeah, this is more of a, there's no like, you only pay based on what you use. And so this is really a rate contract. So if you look at the packet, it has the rate for the first year, then it has a rate for the second year and a rate for the third year. And it's kind of broken down. It's called the rule of reward. So you have to have some sort of a criteria to determine who's the lowest price. And so then that's how we created this packet. And so basically, if we use 50 hours, then we'll pay for our 50 hours. If the town uses 100 hours, then they pay them separately. And that's how it works.
Thank you.
thank you very much. That answers my question. Thank you.
Any other questions?
A lot of layers to this onion.
Yeah. There is.
No? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Twombly.
Thanks a lot. So I just need a motion to approve the contract and then.
Who would like to make a motion to approve the Robert W. Irvin and Sons contract?
Strong, so moved.
DeLuca, second.
All right, roll call vote.
O'Neill, yes.
Durant, yes?
Luca, yes.
Star, yes.
Have a good weekend, everybody. Take care. Bye.
You too, David.
Thank you.
All right, discussion and vote on the superintendent's evaluation. I did just share the summative with you all. If you want to pull it up. So Dr. Capel, maybe you can give me a little bit of guidance on how you want this process to go. I don't know if you want me to read through it and then the school committee comment, you comment. I'm not sure how.
That's entirely up to you. The entire process is public. The entire document is public. Anyone can access it, and then it is available for future reference, anybody who wants it. So however you talk about it, there really isn't a set way to do that. You certainly could, what you have to do, the requirements are you have to give me a rating on each category, on my goals, and then a final overall. You can share comments if you wish. The document is public anyway, so anyone can have access to them if they desire. So what you wish to discuss is entirely up to you.
All right, but I'm going to suggest, unless the committee would like to handle it differently, I can go through, I don't know if you've been able to pull it up. I can go through each of the step 1, those ratings, step 2 ratings. And what I did for the comments, just for the public to know, we all do our own individual evaluation. They share it with me, and then I make I kind of pull that all together into a summative report. So I could read the summative comments if that's something that we want to do, and then you could comment individually. Does anyone want to handle it differently or have advice?
Ultimately, you're going to vote on the
Right.
ratings though. Okay. So that is something you obviously have not had the opportunity to discuss. And so you would have that vote this evening. Is this something you shared with Mrs. Pruitt and I as well, or you're just saying this, you shared it with the school?
I did not yet. I did
Okay,
not
that's
know
fine.
that was appropriate.
That's fine.
I can do it right now if you'd like to see it.
It's
Would it be
totally fine.
helpful for you to look at it?
No, it's fine. We can wait. You just said look for it and I don't have it, so I didn't know
I
if you
meant
meant
the
us
school
to.
committee numbers.
That's okay, no problem.
Okay.
Michelle, if you could share it with them, that might be a good idea, so it'd be easier for them to
I
follow along.
put it in. I'm gonna do that right now. Just give me one
Okay,
second.
thank you.
Okay. I believe I've successfully shared it with everyone. Are you able, is everyone able to see it that wants to pull it up? Okay.
Yes.
Can you see it? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Importantly, can you see it? All right. So is that all right with everyone then? I'll just go through the ratings and the comments from the summative and we'll go, okay. All right, so as you're looking at the end of cycle summative report in professional practice goals, number 5, as a group, we came up with exceeded. The student learning goals 2 and 5 exceeded, and district improvement goals 1, 3, and 4 exceeded. And then if you go down to the next section, standard 1, instructional leadership exceeded. Standard 2, management and operations exceeded. Standard 3, family and community engagement, number 3 exceeded. And standard 4, professional culture, 4 and 5 exceeded. So an overall rating of exemplary. And then I read through these comments. So this is a combination of all of our thoughts together. I pulled a little bit from everyone. Okay. So in the comments, due to the global pandemic, the school committee is submitting our evaluation for Dr. Alicia Cabral, which encompasses an extended period of time to include part of 2019, 2020, and all of 2020, 2021. The past 18 months have proven to be some of the most challenging months of the Easton public school system. In this year of unbelievable events, namely COVID, Dr. Alicia Cabral and her central office staff were the glue to the success in the education in Easton. When the schools were shut down in March 2020, for the remainder of the school year, it was up to Dr. Cabral to determine how our students would continue to be educated at home and how our educators were to educate these students from home. With little or no guidance from the state and no experience with running the school in this manner, Dr. Cabral had to work closely with her administrative team to design and implement an online school district. Dr. Cabral worked tirelessly with subcommittees comprised of administrators, teachers, staff, and other stakeholders to create a comprehensive reopening plan tailored to individual schools. Her plan created adaptive schedules, exceeded time on learning requirements, and offered a variety of learning opportunities. She acquired one-on-one technology for teachers and students and designed targeted professional development for teachers to address the unique needs of teaching and learning during a pandemic. The hybrid educational model that resulted from the work of the teaching and learning community and that was implemented by Dr. Cabral for the greater part of 2020-21 school year, served Easton Public Schools students as well as could possibly be expected given a major health risk and other challenges of COVID-19 pandemic. To the degree feasible, the model accommodated the preferences of families who felt that in-person learning was the best approach for their children, and of families who opted for remote learning for their children due to health and safety concerns. No claims were made that the hybrid model was ideal for educating children, but important safety protocols that were either mandated or recommended by the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, or DESE, and the local Board of Health were primary drivers in creation of the hybrid model. When the Commissioner of Education required the schools return to full in-person model towards the end of the school year, EPS complied. Fortunately, for approximately The last 6 weeks of the academic year, those parents who wish to do so were permitted to have their children continue to learn remotely. Dr. Cabral had a great playbook for returning to school in September, a COVID-19 booklet that answered questions about COVID and school compliance, and her principals made guidelines for families to follow when returning to school in September in the hybrid model, and in March and April for the return to school full-time. Dr. Cabral leads the Easton Public Schools with compassion and conviction. Dr. Cabral continued to find new and innovative ways to build and strengthen partnerships in the community organizations, businesses, and family. She's actively working to change legislation to benefit vocational experiences for OA students. She continued to partner with local colleges and strengthen college and career readiness. She successfully was able to reinstate some of the OA positions and working to bring back others. Dr. Cabral was able to leverage grants, which resulted in lower kindergarten tuition starting in 2021 to 2022, and continues to work towards free kindergarten for all EPS students. Throughout the year, the work continued in college and career readiness despite everything else going on. It's great that progress in this key area was able to continue even while dealing with COVID. Legislative advocacy, collaboration with peers in other areas of schools, and forming partnerships with a variety of institutions for college and career training is the kind of work that sets Dr. Cabral apart from her peers and makes her an outstanding leader in K-12 education. Communication with the district, with other partners in Easton, neighboring communities, and the school community was excellent. Dr. Cabral received and responded to an onslaught of emails and phone calls and responded with patience and professionalism, even when messages were confrontational, accusatory, or otherwise challenging. Many school committee meetings were highly attended, some with several hundred attendees, and went 4 or 5 hours long. At one point, the school committee was meeting weekly and for most of the year met at least every other week. During some meetings, attendees shared questions or comments that were confrontational, accusatory, etc., and Dr. Cabral responded professionally every time. The updates to the district website with COVID information, schedules, protocols, and the like were easy to find, and the case reporting dashboard evolved over time as the community pressured for more information. Finally, Dr. Cabral and Mrs. Pruitt personally managed the contact tracing and quarantine notification process, which demonstrated that this is a team that just rolled up their sleeves and got to work when there wasn't another resource available. It was great to see progress with these goals continue despite the overwhelming work and focus needed to manage the district during the pandemic. We heard feedback from educators and the professional development they received. For instance, a walk in my shoes was some of the most meaningful, impactful of their career. We are grateful that although programs such as ADL programs had to pause during the pandemic, the district was able to plan to continue with that program next year as well as work with other community partners such as raising multicultural kids on projects such as book baskets and peer leaders. Dr. Cabral, pursuit of becoming, I'm sorry, she agrees with us. State member of the MASS Radical Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Ready Committee, and another example of how she literally a leader among her peers, and her commitment to creating a school culture in an inclusive response and meets the needs of all students. Finally, Dr. Cabral has led the district in making progress in serving our English language learners population and their families, with the expansion and translation services critically important during the public health crisis and the addition of another L teacher. Dr. Cabral detailed planning for the year, and her continued work to expand opportunities for our students has a positive impact on student achievement and has helped to move our district forward. To ensure that our district continues to have resources necessary to provide our students and staff, Dr. Cabral judiciously managed COVID funding received. The relationship with our legislators has been extremely helpful in obtaining these funds. We believe that Our school district is fortunate to have Dr. Cabral at the helm, and we are thankful she is here to lead us through this very rough patch. We look forward to our continued work together. Would any of the school committee members like to offer comments?
Finally got my mute off. Couldn't get it up. That was a really nice job, Michelle, pulling together, I know, a set of very diverse comments from the 5 members of the school committee. So, and I know that it must have been quite an effort on your part. I certainly agree with everything in the final document. I'm just going to read really one sentence that I wrote in my own comments that are not specifically included there. I did get a little carried away, as you know, and wrote a very long document. So I'll only read this one sentence because it does sort of summarize how I felt during this year. I did, I referenced the many challenges of the pandemic first, and then I said, in this daunting, under quotations, novel environment, providing grade appropriate academic programs along with social and emotional supports for students while employing a dizzying array of traditional and new technological resources, all the while remaining attentive to grave health risks to students, educators, and the larger community, likely would have stopped most superheroes in their tracks. I think that in a sense, I really do see Dr. Cabral as a superhero during this last 18 months. I know that she had a great deal of support from obviously her assistant superintendent and the rest of the central office staff and the building leadership and the many wonderful educators and support staff in the Easton Public Schools. But it was Dr. Cabral's job to lead this huge effort during and as everyone says, I know it's an overused word at this time, but it's the most appropriate, unprecedented period. So that's just my little contribution for now.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add to it? Jen?
So going through evaluation, I tend to be a hard grader, right? I tend to start at meeting expectations and kind of hang there mostly when I'm doing evaluations at work or anything. And this is one where going through the details, I was like, every single point, I'm like, no, it's like way more than you could have expected of anything. Every single point along the way, I'm like, no, that goes way above and beyond any reasonable expectation. For you to just manage to hit that on every goal and to not have let non-COVID goals take a back seat is just exemplary. And I can't thank you enough for the job you've done for us the past year plus on this. So
Thank you. Nancy?
Michelle, good job. I've been here, done that, putting all the comments together, and it is daunting. And, even though it's all on the computer and everybody thinks you can cut and paste and do whatever, it's still a lot of work. And the comments that you gave us, all together, very good. And yeah, you know what? In this year that was year and a half craziness, and Dr. Cabral and her staff did a great job. The administrators and the teachers, paras, nurses, custodians, everybody was over the top this year. And I just hope that in September, when we start back to school, that this momentum continues, that we're focused on the students and what they need, what our staff can give them, help them grow and become, good citizens. So yes, the exemplary rating I agree with, and hopefully everything will work out in the budget and we'll get everything that we need to have for the 2021-2022 school year. Thank you, Michelle, for doing that.
Thank you. I think that's everyone on school committee. I don't know if you wanted to say anything, Dr. Crawford?
Michelle,
Yes, Caroline?
Michelle, it's Caroline. Could I just add a quick comment in response to what Jen said when she said that she tends to be a hard grader? I have never given anyone all top ratings in the 28 years I've been on school committee until now. So I also would not have considered myself a particularly easy grader, but if anyone earned high marks in every area this year, it's certainly Dr. Cabral.
Thank you. All right. So do you want to talk to a
Do I
doctor?
have to?
Up to you.
You don't have to.
Well, to say that I am overwhelmed would be a gross understatement. Obviously, every single thing you named, there is not a possible way to do that without the amazing people that surround us here, from the support, the undying support, no matter what happened, of the school committee, and which isn't to say blind support. You know, I've been challenged and pushed, and that's, I want that, and I appreciate that very much. The school committee, certainly my partner in crime here, Chrissy Pruitt, the administrative team, the cabinet, central office, all those people behind the scenes, every educator in this district who there aren't words. I think superhero, I'm sorry, I can't remember who said it. Superhero perfectly captures, better than any description I could, the people that I have been so humbled and honored to serve here. I got all the way through COVID.
You've been hanging out with me too much, Leisha.
Yeah. It's personal, right? It's personal. These people that we work with, it's not just working with them. We serve with them. We serve alongside them. And I am very honored to do so. And I thank all of them. And I thank you for your continued support. And I know the momentum will continue because that's what these professionals do. They never drop the ball. So onward and forward. And we're very excited about the upcoming school year. And I want to thank you again. It was overwhelming, probably a little more than deserved. I'll take it. Thank you. And I just want to thank you and every single person that contributed, because talk about really feeling like a Super Bowl team. That's what I feel like. I feel like we were on a Super Bowl team. And I'm just so proud of every single all-star that, you know, I constantly talk about my new team members who we're interviewing now, and I tell them all about the inverted pyramid. Now we're just here to serve them because they make the magic happen. So I am eternally grateful to every single one of them. And I would just kind of take this and turn it around and reflect it right back at them, because they're the ones that really make this happen. So thank you very much for capturing everything that this amazing team has done in this crazy year and a half. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we need to vote. So do I have a motion to accept the evaluation for 2021 for Dr. Cabral as written? I don't know what the motion should say. If someone has perfect wording, let me know. Caroline?
No, I think that was fine, and I'm happy to make that motion.
Star second.
Great. Roll call vote.
O'Neill, yes.
Grants, yes.
Lucy, yes.
Star, yes.
All right, excellent.
Michelle,
Yes.
would you mind if I, in response to what Leisha just said, and I will say did, do you mind if I read a couple of sentences of the end of my evaluation? I'll tell you why. It's actually well known among some circles that women women in particular have a hard time accepting credit for, wonderful things that they've done. They tend to always attribute it to other people or to a team. And certainly that's justified to a point, but I don't think that Dr. Brawl took as much credit as she should have. So I'm going to read, if you don't mind, this end of my comment. I said the majority of educators and other staff in the EPS worked harder than they ever had during the 2021 school year. Their commitment to providing the best possible educational opportunities and social emotional support for their students under uniquely challenging circumstances was, in a word, inspiring. It is up to a district's leader to promote a positive and productive professional culture. Most of the credit for the much, if not most of the credit for the outstanding performance of EPS educational and support personnel during a year characterized by chaos and for many tragic losses is due to Dr. Cabral's efforts. That's all. I just wanted to be sure that Dr. Cabral accepts her very well justified share of the credit for this past year. I think a different leadership might have resulted in a much less desirable outcome.
Thank you. So now that we've accepted, I'll share the entire folder that has all of our evaluations in it with all of you now at the end of this meeting. Okay. So, district updates. Dr. Cabral.
Did you vote? I'm sorry.
Yep,
Okay.
I think we did, right?
A little bit of a blur right now. You'll have to excuse me. Okay, I apologize. Yeah, I do have a few things. One is sort of a little bit of a PSA here. We have posted, I told you, we talked very briefly about a position we were posting for a district doctor. We are not getting a lot of responses. We did just post it, so I just want to put that out there. If anybody is aware, it does come with a stipend. We are required to have a district doctor for standing orders for our nurses, for conferring for serious or significant medical issues, potential for physicals, for athletics, things like that. So we did post it on School Spring. I realize that is mostly for educators. So we also sent copies of the job description with a cover letter to all of our area pediatric and family doctor practices in Easton and some in Brockton. So if anybody is aware of someone that has done that kind of work or might be interested in that, please have them contact us. We definitely have to have that shored up before the beginning of school. Other than that, we've been interviewing dozens and dozens and dozens of finalists. So we've had thousands literally of applicants. So we're very fortunate for our reputation in Easton. I do want to say this is a particular shout out to my leadership team and their hiring committees. Without exception, every single person I interviewed has said that this was the best interview experience that they've ever had. They see the professionalism, the commitment of the committees that are meeting with them. They feel very respected by the way the process has been run. It doesn't matter what school it is. It doesn't matter what position it is. Without fail, every single one of them was excited about being forwarded for final consideration because, if nothing else, the experience they had through the interview process. So it's something, again, we're really proud of. We talk about that process. We talk about the procedures we use and trying to be universal with that. I just wanted you to be aware that it is, Easton has a very good name among professional circles, and people are quite excited to be joining our team. So I look forward to you meeting them at the new teacher orientation in August. So that's always a fun event. We were able to run a COVID clinic starting today. And then the next one, I think, is August 12th. It's in 2 weeks. We did that in cooperation with the town of Easton and with Rite Aid. It's being held at the Easton Middle School. I do want to just remind people that vaccinations are available for anyone ages 12 and up. And the town is putting together these opportunities for anybody who is a resident of Easton, but anyone who works in Easton. So there's a greater circle of people. Some residents, for example, who have children may have caregivers or nannies or people that work with their family who live in other areas that would like to get the vaccine in order to work with the family. That is available to them. So they can just contact us as central office, or they can contact the Board of Health, and we can try to make that accessible for them. The key is we understand there are people who are not interested in the virus and people that are very in the COVID vaccine and people who are very interested in the COVID vaccine. We just want to make sure that anyone who's interested has a very easy opportunity and access to getting that for free. And so we began that today. I don't know exactly how many people we had. I have to check back in with the Board of Health, but I know there was a minimum of 50 to even run it. So we definitely had more than that. And then they're going to do the follow-up, and then it will be another 2 weeks before school starts. So anyone who is between the ages of 12 and 17, for example, that was able to get it will be fully vaccinated with the full 2 weeks before school begins. So again, that timeline is fast approaching. If anybody is looking to have the 2 vaccines, if it's the double dose, which is what the town offers, Pfizer, and then have the 2 weeks for the full effect of the vaccination. We are right about that point now. So please reach out again to the Board of Health or to us at central office, and we'll make sure that if that is something you're interested in, we can help facilitate that for you. Mrs. Pruitt can talk about the extended school year and the summer school, the C that's going on very successfully, I might add. We both attended Mass Association of School Superintendents Conference last week. It's the largest Massachusetts leadership conference in the state. Always very good networking, excellent presentations. The theme was the equity, diversity and inclusion. It was quite inspiring. We were able to meet many people who are doing different things in their districts. And of course, we look forward to continuing to engage in that work. It was very good use of time there. And finally, we have the Blanche Ames update. So I'm walking that construction site every Wednesday. We also have meetings with the builders, designers, and project manager every Wednesday. I just wanted to report things are going very well. We did have a school planning committee meeting in addition this past Wednesday. What I really like, and the slide decks are always available on the project website. First of all, there are the 3 still cameras that we have now. They take still shots, but you can advance the frames and see it progress over time. One of the things that the OPM did, which I thought was enjoyable, was they put photographs from June 18th and then July 21st, the date of the meeting, so that we could see the same shot from all 3 cameras 1 month apart. And it is absolutely amazing how much the builders and the subcontractors are getting done in 1 month at a time. I again want to thank the building inspector's office. They've been there pretty much daily, looking over every aspect of work and approving everything before it goes forward. We're very confident with the work so far. I'm very excited to see the steel is being erected. I was actually contacted today to give them the district logo for the final steel beam. So we're actually at the point where they're thinking about preparing the final steel beam for installation. So that's quite exciting. And the disruption to roadways, we have still, Spooner Street still goes through the campus proper, so to speak, of Parkview and into the middle school, but you will see if you go through there that the parking lot to the right, if you're going toward the middle school, has been completely blocked off. They are installing some underground utilities there for the new building that will be paved. It's the anticipated date that all will be repaved temporarily for August 26th. So everything will be all set in time for school, but it will look different, of course, in anticipation for the building, but it's part of the underground services they need to do to stay on target for their timeline. There is a date coming up that they will have to actually go across Lothrop Street. That's going to be coordinated with the town, fire, police, everyone will be getting notice about that. And especially if there's any interruption to service. Jane Martin, who's the chair of the SPC, was very clear that she wanted to be sure that we were proactive in those messages. And the project manager assured us that should anybody have any amount of interruption in telephone service, water service, electricity, that they will be notified about that ahead of time. So as of now, none of that has taken place. No actual road closures, just that parking lot space. And then the final thing is just we are making some more progress on the our partnership with the Ed Alliance and the South Shore Consortium. So again, that's still a new and developing thing. We actually had a meeting today. Mrs. Pruitt and I had a meeting today with the Ed Alliance, and we have a meeting next week with consortium members about our developing plans. So we are trying to piece together, we have two things going on with them. Just, I know I explained it briefly to all of you because it's not really a firm, we don't have the articulation agreements yet. This is what we're planning. One is the early college pathways. Mrs. Kavanaugh has begun at the high school, and she's already been very involved with this work, as has the some of the department chairs and the guidance department. And we are determining which courses we would like to offer for early college credit through UMass Dartmouth at this point. We have other partners on board, but right now we're working first with UMass Dartmouth to get staff members for certain offerings that we'd like to provide for early college credit for students who have interest in STEAM. We are, of all the consortium members, 11, we are actually really focusing on STEAM here. And so we're looking for technology, computer science, physics, marine sciences, and the like. And we're trying to coordinate to see what is the interest of our students and how does that parallel with the staff that's available and with interest from others in the consortium. If you remember when I talked about it prior, one of the benefits of that is that we might have 6 kids interested in something, and with 11 other districts, if each of them have 2, that's a full course. So we don't necessarily need to always have our own set of students in something. And then we're looking to create these pathways. The 3 we're working with right now is William James, more for the humanities and mental health, but also the Boston Architecture College with one of the new electives we have with a new candidate for industrial arts, and of course UMass Dartmouth in the STEAM areas. And so we hope to get some of those agreements hammered out so that we can bring you some formal documentation on that. We're really excited. The other part of that is career technical education for students who may be more interested in certificate programs, for example, first responder certificate programs or healthcare certificate programs. And so we're working on that aspect. That's actually what the meeting next week is about, possible certifications we could offer within the consortium. So between the early college and the career pathways, we have some exciting things and developments going on at the high school. And we look forward to being able to tell you a lot more about it once we shore up the final documentation. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, public comment? Is there anything, Chrissy?
No, there's nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Dr. Corral, superintendent notes.
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. And assistant superintendent notes, Chrissy?
So I did want to share with you the success of the Summer Enrichment Academy that is occurring right now in grades K through 8 and our summer recovery program at the high school. This is all funded through our federal funding that we were able to receive, and we're very thankful to be able to have this program. This is not a program that we typically run in the summer. Again, this is funded due to the stimulus money that we did receive. I want to give a shout out to our directors of the programs, K to 5. We have Stephanie San Pietro and Megan St. Martin. They have been doing an absolutely phenomenal job. Most of the educators that are teaching in that program are new to Easton, and they have done a phenomenal job working with them and really encouraging the project-based approach and encourage, their creativity, and the kids are just having an absolute ball. Also at the middle school, Amy Meehan and Abby Boyd, they are our coordinators there, and they're also doing a wonderful job. I met with them today regarding assessments and end of program assessment. And then at the high school, Ryan Ring is the director of the credit recovery program, the coordinator. So he is also doing a great job. It's so nice, to be able to have these people on the ground running. Obviously, our K-5 program is our largest right now. So, we have been going over in the morning and when the dismissal occurs to help out a bit. But after a few times of being there, it's just a well-oiled machine right now. And I also just want to thank Lucini. Michelle Doolittle at Lucini, our bus company, has been absolutely phenomenal with being flexible and adding stops in and adjusting routes when needed. There have been of course, when the program starts, construction starts back up. So we have had many delays and concerned families, and she has been responding to our requests as well. So I just want to thank her and thank Lucini for that partnership. I see the pictures, I'm there in the classrooms, the kids are smiling, and this really is the purpose. We don't think necessarily we're going to fill any gaps. The purpose was to re-engage our kids, and they really are having a blast. Michelle, I see that you retweet some of the things that I share on Twitter, and the kids, just their faces with their sea turtle hats, and they're just absolutely having so much fun. So it's something that I really hope that we can continue in the future, because it is something that has just been great. And then just so you're aware also, we do have some slots available that I'm working on with the high school so that 5 of our students may be able to continue their summer programming with a partnership that we've gained through community boating, which is out of Boston. So students will learn how to sail, and through our partnership with community boating through Boston, we are able to provide transportation. And so we're working on getting that finalized. That will take place over 2 weeks in August. And we're really excited about this opportunity. This is a new opportunity, obviously. And actually the opportunity, the partnership stemmed from a conversation we had with the Ed Alliance group. Somebody had a connection with the community boating and put us in touch with them. And we are the first district, a first suburban district that they're working with. So we're really excited for the beginning of this partnership. We hope to see it grow. So I just wanted to
We really
update.
see that as a great opportunity. We saw that as integral in our SEL programming for students. Again, getting them re-engaged, getting them outdoors again, getting them into the social construct again, and active. And so we're very excited about that opportunity.
Right. I also wanted to share with you, Dr. Cabral shared that we were down at the MASS conference last week. One thing, of course, that she neglected to leave out was that Dr. Cabral actually presented in front of all of our peers. She presented with one other panelist and one facilitator on the READY initiative, and really had an extremely comprehensive presentation on how we will be implementing the READY initiative. There's a lot of more information to come, but she was truly a leader amongst her peers in guiding us through the initiative and how it will come to be throughout the Commonwealth. So I just want to share that with you. She was sharing stories from Easton. People were going up to her afterwards, just complimenting and hearing the sense of urgency on this work through her presentation. And I was like a proud mama up there watching her, and it was great. And our high school principal was able to see that as well, our new high school principal. So it was wonderful, wonderful for her to see just Leisha's role throughout the Commonwealth. So I just wanted to share that with you. And then lastly, I just want to commend the school committee for the evaluation on Dr. Cabral. I'm not going to cry, but I've seen what Leisha has gone through. And you are absolutely right, Caroline. Leisha is the last person to take credit for anything, but she has been such a role model for all of us. And her time and commitment, you know, we could have gone an easier route. We could have done things easier, but that for her, that just was never good enough for our kids. And I have been honored to work alongside her and to learn from her because her standards are always high for our students and her expectations. And I thank you so much for recognizing that in her evaluation, because she, in my eyes, completely deserves the ratings that you gave her. So thank you.
Great, thank you. School committee notes. Caroline?
I think I've said enough for today, but I do want to compliment you, Michelle, on during a very busy time in your life, putting together that comprehensive document. And I think it very accurately reflected our opinion of the wonderful work that Dr. Cabral has done this past 18 months.
Thank you. And I could not have done that had your individual ones not been very detailed and explicit and thoughtful and really from the heart. So that made my job actually a lot easier. Thank you.
Oh, Michelle?
Yeah?
I don't know if this is the time to bring this up, but I know that we only have one more meeting before the beginning of school.
Okay.
And there's been a deluge of articles in the last few days by major media sources, New York Times, Washington Post, various others, suggesting that, unfortunately, it may be necessary to continue to have all children and staff wear masks in school in the fall because of the huge uptick in a very infectious variant of the virus, the Delta variant. And the American Academy of Pediatrics has put out a very strong statement saying that children over 2 should be masking along with staff in schools in the fall, unless some kind of miracle happens between now and then that tamps down the escalating viral cases. Unfortunately, the Delta variant is much more infectious than prior variants, and it's also much more infectious to children. And even if a child doesn't display severe symptoms, they certainly can infect other individuals, but they also are vulnerable to this inflammatory syndrome, which is very serious after contracting the virus. And also they're apparently, in response to the Delta variant, more likely to experience long-term effects. So I know nobody wants to think about this or hear about this, just as we, kind of were under the illusion that we were past or more largely past the pandemic. But I will say that the American Academy of Pediatrics, who's obviously focused on children, having come out with such a strong statement, I think it's important for us to begin to share that message so that people understand that they may need to prepare for that in the fall in order to protect our children and our staff.
Thank you. Nancy?
I was also going to bring up about the masks. I know it's early on, it's only July, but I mean, and there's no decisions or anything by Jesse or anyone yet. They're all talking about it. I know people that are fully vaccinated, some teachers don't want, they don't want to go back to school wearing a mask, but if that's what has to happen, then, we'll get the directives from the Board of Health and Jesse and the CDC and so forth. But it is something, in Caroline, you said it is something that we have to think about. We have to, we have to protect our children. So, I know people now that have tested positive for COVID and they're fine, they feel fine. It's just a couple of the symptoms happen and they just have to mask up and stay away from everybody for a little while. So it's kind of crazy. Other than that, thank you for the summer school update. I think that to Chrissy, that's very exciting knowing that, you know, there's a lot of kids benefiting from what we can offer them during the summer. So that's a great thing. And congratulations, Dr. Cabral, on presenting at the Mass Conference and on your evaluation. And, you know, just hoping that everybody this summer, kids, students, everybody is, you know, doing a little something, reading, you know, whatever they need to do, just staying educated during the summer. That's all I have.
Okay. Jen?
Pretty much everything's been covered. Michelle, thank you for doing such a great job pulling together the evaluation, especially when one of your colleagues was delinquent with getting remarks.
Giving anyone under the bus.
Thank you. You were very flexible, so much appreciated. And Nancy and Caroline, I'm grateful that you brought up, you know, there's been a lot of media coverage and discussion about the possibility of evolving recommendations around masculine. So I'm sure we're all just, you know, we're waiting to hear what Bessie will have to say, and I'm sure there'll be something, you know, some more information as the summer unfolds and we get close to the school. And then the only thing I have that wasn't mentioned is Raising Multicultural Kids has been doing a learning series this summer with Dr. Beverly Daniel Tatum's book, Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria? It's a bit of a long title, but it's a really great book. It's one that if folks haven't read it, it's fascinating from both the perspective of you know, from the world of education, but just parenting and human development in general. It's very dense. There's a lot to digest about it. So I'm glad that we're able to go through it in a learning forum that's taking place over 3 weeks. There's been a lot of BPS staff members who have attended and participated. So it's been really nice to see a variety of people from the district taking advantage of that opportunity and getting involved. We've had some really good discussions, and it's a great book. I highly recommend it if anybody hasn't read it. That's all I have.
Thank you. I do not have anything. I feel like I've talked up a lot tonight.
Michelle,
Yes.
Michelle, I'm sorry, I just wanted to respond to what Jen said. I've been intending to order that book. I really need to, because I actually was fortunate enough many years ago to, at the Mass Association of School Committee conference, the one and only one that I actually attended the entire conference, she was the keynote speaker quite some time ago. I'd say that was about 27 years ago, something like that. And I remember just being blown away by her observations. And in fact, it really, I mean, I remember that's one of the few sort of formal presentations I've ever attended that kind of changed my mindset about, you know, a huge issue. So she's been working on, you know, issues of equity and social justice and so on for obviously decades. But what an impressive speaker she was. I mean, you know, I don't know how about you, but I don't remember half of the presenters I've heard over the years and what they've said or anything, but she's someone that really, you know, her words really stuck with me. So I do need, I'm glad you reminded me that I need to get that book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've read an article that referenced her work and pulled some excerpts from her work a while back. It was one of those articles that probably the next 10 people I ran into talked about it. And then, you know, when I realized, like, oh, she teaches this, she's been teaching for decades. She wrote the book over 20 years ago. This is the updated 20th anniversary edition, which has a lot more updated content. It's really, yeah, I could not recommend it more. It's every chapter, every page is so much to digest. And I think it's been really one of the interesting things is that there are people in RMK who do, you know, DEI work and are raising children of color and are people of color themselves who are immersed in all of this and have lived it their whole lives. And what they're learning and sharing with us is remarkable. With, you know, oh, I wish I could write this when my children were young. I would have had these conversations. I would have, had different conversations, and hearing that from educators too, that, wow, I'm really seeing, I understand now why these social patterns emerge over time, and why they're predictable and appropriate and not something to worry about, or how to, how to handle this situation better. So it's really been remarkable. I think you'll love it, Caroline.
I do see that there is a late comment, but there's no address with it. So, and we passed that part of the agenda. So I'm going to move on to the next thing, which is I would like to make a motion to enter into executive session and not to return to open session for the purpose of discussion of a contract. And in my opinion, having this discussion in public would be detrimental to the bargaining position of the school committee. Do I have a second?
Second, DeLuca.
All right, roll call vote.
Camille, yes.
Durance, yes.
DeLuca, yes.
Yes.
Great. So we will see you at the next link. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.